where should you get your letters of recommendations? That's what we're going to talk about today on the OldPreMeds podcast. This is session number 165. You're a non-traditional student entering the medical field on your terms. You may have had some hiccups along the way, but now you're ready to change course and go back and serve others as a physician. This podcast is here to help answer your questions and help educate you on your non-traditional journey to becoming a physician. Well, welcome to the OldPreMeds podcast. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, your host here every week, where I take questions directly from the non-traditional pre-med forum over at premedforums.com. This week, we have an interesting question from a student who has bounced around in different schools and is wondering where they should be getting their letters of recommendation. Christian says, "Hey, Dr. Gray and my fellow Nontrads, for financial reasons and thus a full-time corporate job, I've elected to pursue my post-bacc coursework at a local community college. I justify this with the fact that I had a 3.8 undergraduate GPA from a top 50 university and a top master's in an unrelated field, hopefully making up for the science coursework being done at a community college. My question is, from where should I source my letters of recommendation? My undergraduate alma mater, master's program, science professors at the community college, any help on where to ask for the letters and how to go about that without the help of a structured pre-med or post-bacc program would be greatly appreciated." All right, so pretty straightforward question. If you're bouncing around from undergrad to master's to a do-it-yourself post-bacc at a community college, where should you get letters of recommendations? Now let's break down what the letters of recommendations typically should be. The general rule of thumb is 2 science and 1 non-science. 2 science and 1 non-science is the general rule of thumb for letters of recommendations from faculty members. Now, if you can get a physician letter, great. If you're applying to DO schools and need a DO letter, great. Go get those. But the general rule of thumb for your kind of foundation of letters is 2 science, 1 non-science professor. If you are doing a do-it-yourself post-bacc at a community college, that probably tells me that the majority of your science coursework was done at the community college and not in undergrad or in your master's. And therefore, you need to ask your community college professors for those letters of recommendations for the science letters, right? It just depends on where have you taken the coursework, your science coursework. And it sounds like for this student, the science coursework was done at the community college. Can you ask if you do have older science courses that you've taken, can you ask those professors? Potentially, if you've maintained any sort of contact with those professors, you can ask those professors for letters. Remember, you want people who know you, not just classes where you've gotten A's. When somebody writes you a letter of recommendation, you don't want them to write, "Christian was a great student. He received an A in the class." That is a waste of a letter of recommendation and does more harm than good. If you have a favorite professor from undergrad that was 6 years ago, but you maintained a contact with him or her and they understand the journey that you've been on and your ups and downs and you've maintained a relationship, an older letter of recommendation from that professor is great because they know you. And yeah, you want it dated now. You don't want a letter from 6 years ago to be used, but a professor from 6 years ago with an updated letter showing this year, the year that you're applying, is a great letter. But if all of your professors from a long time ago at the 4-year university don't know you, you haven't maintained contact, don't worry about the letter coming from a community college professor. That letter is coming from somebody who knows you now. And remember, you need to go build that relationship. Go and start early, introduce yourself, let them know that you're pre-med, let them know that you may be asking for a letter of recommendation, set those expectations from the beginning, and hopefully they will put in a little effort to try to get to know you. And hopefully we'll write you a better letter of recommendation. So get to those science professors. It sounds like from the community college. The non-science professor potentially could be from your master's or undergrad. Again, the best one is from somebody who knows you. If it's been a really long time, you potentially can get the required letters of recommendations, like a non-science professor. You can get that exchanged for somebody who does know you, maybe a work supervisor, maybe somebody else who can potentially write you a better letter of recommendation than some random professor from 10 years ago who doesn't know you anymore. So hopefully that was helpful to answer your questions about letters of recommendations, depending on where you've been and the journey that you've been on. Remember, you want to try to get letters from people who know you. You want them updated from date-wise on the letter to the year that you are applying, just to make sure that it's fresh and new and that you don't give any doubt to the admissions committee that it's just some letter from somebody a long time ago that may or may not know you right now as you are applying to medical school. All right, hopefully that was helpful for you. I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time here on the OldPreMeds podcast.